I know what you're thinking, but no, this is not a clickbait. This is actually a proven way of making money long term. In fact, Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel where we talk about investing and how to get you started. And in today's topic, we're going to be discussing compound interest. So what is compound interest? Compound interest is basically allowing your money to work for you over time. Before you can take advantage of this compound interest, you need money, of course, and you need time. So you need to let it grow for a long period of time. Before we go any further into discussing what compound interest is, I'd like to first discuss what simple interest is so you can better understand the concept of compound interest. I'm going to go straight to my computer and explain it all to you. So let's take this simple interest for example. Your principal is $6,000. That means you have $6,000 to invest, and you're using an interest rate of 8%, and you want to invest for 20 years. So what you do is the interest rate, which is 8% multiplied by your initial principal of 6,000, and then you have a return of 480 for the first year. And when you add this $6,000 to your interest, your return of $480, you have this result, which is 6,480. So for the second year, they do exactly the same thing. Multiply the interest by your initial principal of $6,000. And so that's what they do all through the 20 years. Your interest rate plus your initial principal. And so you're only able to gain $480 per year. And at the end of the 20 years, you would have earned a total interest of $9,600. This is still good because you only invested just $6,000. And at the end of 20 years, you have $15,600. Now, for compound interest, let's assume you have the same $6,000 to invest with the same interest rate of 8% per annum. This is how it's going to work. So for the first year, you have, of course, your interest rate of 8% multiplied by your principal, which is your initial starting amount of $6,000. And then the return is $480. Simple, just as the same as the simple interest for year one. So total amount for year one will be 6,480. For year two, they're going to do the same thing, interest rate of 8%, but instead of using your initial principal of $6,000, it's going to be on the total that you have earned, which is $6,480. And so they're going to multiply that 8% by that amount. And then you see that here your return has increased to 518. And so for the third year, they're going to do the same thing. Take the total of the money you have here. So it's the interest that you earn on the interest that you have already. So they're going to calculate the interest together and then do the same thing for the third year and the fourth year till you get to the 20th year. So you can see that the difference between the simple interest and the compound interest is that for simple interest, they are only taking the initial principal you have on the interest rate. But for compound interest, they are taking the total return you have earned the previous year, both your interest and your principal, and they're using it to multiply to give you more interest. So the more money you have or the money you have invested will keep yielding more as time goes. So at the end of the 20th year, you would have $27,965.74. So the total interest you will have earned from this is a whopping amount of $21,965.74 compared to simple interest of just $9,600 interest. And that is the power of investing. So for everyone investing, your money will be compounded yearly, and so you can take advantage of this by investing regularly. Because the market does not return the same thing on a yearly basis, we need to find an average return that we can use. And for this, I use the SPY, which is an ETF fund by State Street that makes what the S&P 500 is doing. The S&P 500 index is a market index that tracks the performance of the top 500 companies in the United States. And this can also be seen, the performance of what this S&P 500 does can also be seen as the performance of the entire market. I'm also going to show you how I came about that also, so you better understand. So I come to Google and I type in Yahoo Finance. And here I type in SPY. and I come to performance. That's what I'm interested in. So this is the SPY. Like I said, it's an ETF that mimics what the S&P 500 is doing. And so I come to performance. And here we have a whole lot of information about how the fund has been performing over time. This is a year-to-date performance, a 1 month performance, 3 months, blah, blah, blah. But I'm here to see the yearly returns. And this is where we have it, annual total returns history. The fund started in 1993 or 1994, I think. And so we have all the returns over time here. So for the year 2019, this was the return, 2018, this and this and this. So I collate all of this and get an average. And so this is it here. And we have all the figures here. So for 26 years average, you have a performance of 11.34%. And for 20 years average, we have it's 7.58. This is quite low because this is where the 20th year started from, 2000 to 2019. And so we have this 3-year loss on the back to back. We have minus 9.15, minus 11.86, and minus 22.12. So this really affected the return for the 20 years. And so that's why we have it this low. 15 years average return was 10.37. 10 years average return was 14.02%, 5 years average return was 12.33%. So this means that if you have invested your money in this fund, on an average, you would have at least 10% on a year-to-year basis, taking into consideration whatever is happening in the market. That's if you had invested since it started, on an average, you would have 11.34 annual return. That means that for when the fund is doing bad, you might have for when the fund is doing good, you might have this 31.39%, and when the fund is doing bad, you might have this. But on an average, you would have had 11.34. And so because we're trying to mimic what you will have in the long term, I decided to take this least score and just bump it up by 8 to 8%. So take, for instance, it's doing the worst in history. And so you have, and that's why I use 8%, right? Just to be on the safer side and to err on the side of caution.
Now, I know I promised you $1 million. So we're going to take a look at how using $500 on a monthly basis for a long period of time, you can leverage on compound interest, and in a few years down the line, you would have $1 million in your account. So let's take a look at that right now.
Now, let's look at Grace, who is 25 years old. The retirement age in Grace's country is 60. So Grace has 35 years to work before she retires. Now, because she's still starting early, she might not have this huge amount of money to put in for a starter, but she contributes a monthly contribution of, say, $500. Now, I'm using $500 here, though it might be too high for Grace, who is still 25 years old. But recall that this is for a 35-year period of time. So even if Grace starts with $150, as she increases her income, she's sure to also increase her contribution over time. So I'm looking at a contribution of, say, maybe 1,000. You might even get to 1,000 at some point in her career. But for this purpose, I'm just going to be sticking with an average of 500 over time. So for 35 years, Grace will contribute $500 towards investing for her future, with, of course, an interest rate of 8%. And like I said, I already showed you how I came about my 8%. This is me being on the safe side and erring on the side of caution, not wanting to be too greedy or something like that. And that's why I'm using a very low interest rate of 8%. After 35 years of investing $500 monthly, Grace will have $1,078,176.40. And I'm going to go into the calculator where I show you exactly how this is done. So for that whole 35 years, she has earned an interest of $868,176. And she has just contributed $210,000 overall by doing $500 monthly for 35 years. Here, on this other hand, we have Frank, who didn't start early. So Frank started when he was 30 years old, the same retirement age of 60 years. And Frank has just 30 years to invest. Again, he didn't start with any principal because he didn't have a lot of money in his account. So instead, he did a monthly contribution of $500 for 30 years at the same interest rate of 8%. Now, his total monthly contribution was just $180,000. And with this, he was able to earn $708,806 after 30 years. And the total interest earned was $528,806. So we can see that starting early would also contribute to having way more money in your account. So imagine if I put this average to be $1,000. Just imagine how much that would be. I'm also going to go into the calculator now so you can also see what I'm talking about clearly. So this is a website I use in calculating my compound interest. I'll put the link to this site in the description so you can also check it out and play around with it at your own time. So here you can change the currency into euros, pounds, or whatever it is. But I'll be working with dollars, so I'm going to leave it at dollars. And for Grace's initial balance, it will be 0 because she doesn't have any money saved up yet. She's just about to start and she wants to be doing it on a monthly basis. However, if you have a lump sum cash that you've been willing to invest, you can also put that here and then continue monthly on a subsequent basis. But for the purpose of this video, it's going to be 0. Interest rate is 8%, as we've seen previously how I calculated my 8% per annum. If you're investing in the stock market, the average is always between 8 to 10% per annum. You can use that, or you can also go through the process I use to determine specifically which interest rate you want to use. Then calculation period for Grace was 35 years. This is because she's just 25 years old now and she has 35 more years before she retires at the age of 60. However, this is subjective. So if Grace wants to retire early, say 40 years old, then she would have to change the period here. I'm also going to do that calculation so you can be aware of that. And then for the compound interest interval is always yearly, so I'm going to change this to yearly. And then I'm going to put the regular monthly donation or deposit for $500. Again, this is just an average. She might have started with 250 or 200 and then increased it as her income increased. So, but for the average duration, for the average amount, I'm going to put $500 for 35 years. And then I'm just going to click on calculate. So here we can see the final investment amount, which we already saw. She saved the total monthly deposit she put down for 35 years is $210,000, and she reaped $868,000 in interest, and then which brought her final investment value to over $1 million. You can see the breakdown here below if you're interested in all of this breakdown. So now let's take Frank's example, where he started 5 years after Grace did, and so his calculation period was 30 years. That's what we'll be changing here because the interest rate remains the same. He also did not have any initial balance. The compound interest remains the same, and the regular monthly deposit also remains the same. And here we can see that his total monthly deposit for a duration of 30 years was $180,000, and he reaped a total interest of $528,000, which brought the final investment amount to over just $700,000. Just by starting 5 years later than Grace, Frank was denied about $300,000 in profit because he started just 5 years later than Grace. So this goes to show that the earlier you start, the better, because you can then leverage time and the money you have and to make more money. So like I said, for some who don't have like this long period of time ahead of them and just wants to see, let's say if Grace wants to retire by 40, she's currently 25 years old, meaning she will have just 15 more years to invest. So let's see how much she would have to save up to be able to reach that $1 million mark. Here, let me change it to 1,005 and see if that's enough. So with starting with just 15 years left for Grace to invest and investing $1,500 monthly, she would still not be able to reach the $1 million mark because again she doesn't have so much time on her hands. Let me change this to 2005 and see if that will be enough. 2005 is still not enough to reach the $1 million mark if Grace just has 15 years left. Now let's try $3,000. Wow, so Grace would have to be saving $3,000 monthly if she has just 15 years to retirement before she can reach the $1 million mark. By investing $3,000 monthly for 15 years, Grace was able to make over $1 million, and her total monthly deposit was about $540,000. And that's just roughly just doubling the amount that she put, doubling her investment amount of $540,000. Now let's compare this to when she was saving just $500 per month for 35 years. $500 for 35 years, right? Her total investment amount was just $210,000, and she was able to make over $1 million. In fact, even more than she did with this amount, because this is just $1,019,000 ish. Why this is $1,078,000. So she more than, this is almost 5 times our total investment amount, right? By just doing it slowly for a longer period of time. So I hope that this helps you understand better that, leverage on time and the little money you have, you'll be able to make much more in the market than if you just relax and wait till you are this really rich person before you start investing. So please take advantage of this today and start putting the money somewhere.
And this is where being consistent and starting early really works to your advantage. For my YOLO guys, you only live once, guys, who think that we might not even be here in 35 years or in 30 years from now. But what if you are? What if you're not dead and you're well and alive and healthy 30 years down the line? It might look like it's far off, but I don't think it's that far off. And so you want to have a sort of fallback. You don't want to be the type that will retire and then you're not able to move around and do the things that you like to do. And so this is just a fraction of the money you're earning, and this is where balance comes into play. As much as we want to enjoy the present, we should also plan for the future. And that's why here I use an average of just $500 monthly, and I think that should be achievable with how we go about our daily lives trying to make money in the now. And I know that most of us are looking for this rush of how I can invest now and get it like right now or tomorrow. I want to be a millionaire tomorrow, I want to be a billionaire tomorrow, and all these kind of things. But you know, wealth is built over time, and you have to be patient with yourself to allow yourself invest and also reap the fruits of this your investment. And so we can see from here that if you dedicate a portion of your salary or a portion of whatever it is that you do of your income on a monthly basis into investing, you know, you reap much more in the future. And as you can see, I'm using an ETF, which is basically not trying to beat the market or investing in single stocks or doing all of this risky thing. It's a very laid back kind of investing, so you're not really spending all your time and energy trying to beat the market. You're just playing the market and just being involved in the market, and you have this kind of returns. For people who can, you know, pick individual stocks that are winning and then try to get this huge interest rate on a per annum basis, you know, that's also fine. But not everyone can do this, and not everybody has the time to do this. And so me using this ETF shows that, you know, by just being relaxed and putting in something on a monthly basis into an index fund or an exchange traded fund. I'm going to talk about this in upcoming videos, so I can put the link in the description box below, and also just check around to see when I upload videos like that. And so you can see that from this, we're not trying to beat the market, we're not trying to invest in like all these risky stocks and doing all this risky investment and stuff. Just being laid back with that kind of investment plan, and we're reaping $1 million by just putting in $500 monthly on an average. And so this is what you get. I hope that this encourages you, because it also takes time and it takes dedication. You need to be determined to do this, and then you'll be successful at it. I hope that this encourages you to go out there and try and do some form of investing. Like I said, it doesn't have to be picking individual stocks and doing things that are risky. You can just sit back, put your money in an index fund or an exchange traded fund, and reap the rewards also. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you have found this video very useful. Be sure to share with your friends and your families and everyone that you love. And again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to attend to them. See you in the next video. Bye.